Washington is in fiscal chaos, right? We talk about it, tax and spend situation. We talk about the deficits. We're literally, people, we're adding $1 trillion to the deficit every 100 days. Think about this. Okay, think about this. I mean, I am just not sure how this is going to work out. Where is this going to end? What are we doing here, right? Why are we mortgaging our kids' future, right? Okay, well, so talking about the future, this is another gentleman that I follow, Sven Hendrik, on Twitter. I mean, this was a rant, and I absolutely agree with every single word in this rant on Twitter again. He calls the Fed the geniuses. So he was like, he goes, what prompted the geniuses at the Fed to buy 1.7 trillion MBS's mortgage-backed securities during a pandemic supply-constrained housing market causing massive housing price inflation remains an unaccounted for question. 100%. After that, they ripped rates higher to kill inflation because they created the inflation, trying to fix their idiocy, making housing even more affordable. Well, we know what has happened to our rents, right? Most of us rent, but we also know that our housing values have gone through the roof. Why? Because inflation and hard asset values go up during inflation as an inflation hedge. And the constrained supply even further as people stayed and locked in lower rates, right? Like I have a low mortgage rate. I will, if I sell my house today and take the equity gain in it, the next house that I'm going to buy, I have to pay 7% mortgage versus my 3% 30-year fixed. My payments are going to go through the roof. There's not a way, there's not a day that I think about it. Should I take all this equity that I've gained over the last, 15 years? But then where am I going to go? The next place I'm going to go is not going to be cheaper as far as the price of the house. And also the interest rate that I'm going to pay on a mortgage is going to be 7% versus 3.5%. I can't afford 7% mortgage on a house. Okay. And so, I mean, this is the best part of it. They caused this with 15 years of overly easy money policies, leaving an entire generation of young people priced out of the housing market. 100,000% correct. And imagine, okay, if you graduated or if you're in your 30s, your wife and yourself have a job, you're working. Do you even have the down payment? Because every house in California, which I'm at, is like, even the Matchbox homes are like $1 million now, right? We need 200,000 minimum to do that, and then you're going to get into a jumbo loan at 7%. How can you afford that? How is that possible, right? So, you're starting life, creating a family. There's not a chance you can get into the house. But if you're renting, we know what has happened to rent as well. And now they're whining about inflation being still too high, the very inflation they caused and are causing still. 100% agree. What does it actually take for Fed officials to get fired given the immense damage they have caused? I said that on the last segment. When is this gonna hit, their head that what they're doing is just, besides kicking the can down the road, they're pricing everybody out of new housing. Rents have gone through the roof. Everything, they created inflation and now they're trying to kill it. It's just not going to work. It's not working. So, and when are these people going to get this through their head? But then their data is fine. I'm like, okay, well, their data, my house is not run by their data. If I had their budget situation in DC and the Fed, I'll be broke like 10 times over by now. I should have probably declared bankruptcy. And I said this, US is a bankrupt country. You guys like it? You don't like it? It's tough. You guys, US is basically a much bigger version of Greece. The only thing, the saving grace we have, which is, we're going to talk in the next couple of segments, is because we are the world's reserve currency. We were the petrodollar currency, which we're going to talk about that. I mean, that's the only saving grace we have, because we can keep printing money. We can keep spending and printing money. What does it actually take for Fed officials to get fired, right? Just like he says. Why is society still putting up with these unelected dilettantes? Yes, you guys know Fed is appointed by the president, right? And they're supposed to be non-biased. They're supposed to not take sides. They're just supposed to take care of the average American by regulating rates, creating money, or deducting money from the economy. Their job is not political, supposedly. Do you guys believe it? Do you guys believe that the Fed is going to, in an election year, make things go sideways? That's why market keeps going up, right? Election years, markets are always solid. And God forbid, I don't know what's going to happen after the election. Whoever wins, I think market's just going to tank, but that's my opinion again. So this was the best quote, though, out of all his rant. The biggest irony here, that the largest driver of remaining inflation is rents, which are largely driven by Fed keeping rates higher for longer, as supply-demand imbalances resulted from years of ZIRP. ZIRP is zero interest rate policy. And this is from the FRED, Federal Reserve Economic Data, which you guys can see online, which I talked about in the past, where you guys can find it. So take a look at that chart, right? There is the red line. The red line is the federal funds target. Look what has happened to interest rates. You guys see that? For 10 years, it was zero. And then we had this spike to 5%, right? And at the same time, Fed is trying to, and the blue line is their balance sheet, how much money they have pumped into the economy 2-3 times. Obviously, through the 2008 financial crisis was the first spike. Then they tried to level off, and it didn't work out. Then the European crisis came. They had to pump money. And then the last pump was in the tune of 6 trillion was during COVID. Look at this, right? Now they're trying to raise rates, at the same time lower their balance sheet. And the irony is the market keeps making new highs, right? And if you guys, have a picture in your head of the S&P 500 during times where rates are high and the Fed is trying to cut their balance sheet or lower the balance sheet, they have about a $9 trillion balance sheet now. Markets have not done well, but they keep doing well. And so to me, I'm puzzled as much as anybody. None of this is applying to what I've learned at school in my econ classes. And I mean, I don't know where this is going to end up, but I'm hoping that it doesn't end up ugly again. But at the moment, Fed says everything is fine. At the moment, they're saying they're working on lowering inflation, which should help the American consumer, which should help them spend more money, while their credit card defaults are going through the roof. I don't know. A lot of mixed signals this week. I'm kind of puzzled as anybody else.